Hello my friends. So before I get into this video, there's something that I feel obligated to say, and I think is important for especially those of us who practice paganism, Wicca. Not all Christians are like this man. A lot of Christians don't care what other religions do. They're not trying to lie about what pagans practice. They're not trying to disparage us. They're not trying to make us out to be bad people. People like this person are really the small percentage of Christians who have some kind of a giant chip on their shoulder against pagans and Wiccans who practice our beliefs. So I just want to put that out there, that there are decent Christians in this world, and people like Bill Schnobelen and people on Now You See TV are really the scum of the bottom of the barrel. And there's a lot of Christians in this world who are just decent people who just live their lives, do their thing, concentrate on their own beliefs, concentrate on their own family, concentrate on their own religion, and that's it. They don't bother themselves with lying and trying to disparage other religions. So I just felt obligated to say that because I really kind of amplify the really bad aspects of Christianity, and I don't want people to think that this is like all Christians. Not all Christians are like this. So anyhow, I just wanted to say that. Now let's get into this video and go through the bullshit and lies that Bill Schnobelen is perpetuating about Yule.
Shalom, brothers and sisters.
Shalom, Bill. How are you? You're looking awfully, how should I say, very festive?
This is Dr. William Schnobelen coming to you again from With One Accord Ministries. And tonight we want to give you a combination brief teaching and also a prayer alert.
A prayer alert? Wow, what's going on? Why do you have to come on to YouTube and tell all your followers that there's a prayer alert coming up?
We are bringing this to you a few days before the next major pagan holiday, which is Yule.
So the desperate prayer alert is because a pagan holiday called Yule is coming up. Okay, what's so horrible about Yule that you have to warn all your viewers to be on a prayer alert?
That's typically around December 22nd or December 23rd, depending on the year. And first of all, I want to just share with you a scriptural passage which many people within the movement of the people that really care about the scriptures, we have to use this a lot this time of year because people do not seem to understand our concern about the Christmas holiday, etc.
Yeah, I think I might be among one of them. Yeah, I don't really understand why you would care about it, but apparently it's important to you, so carry on.
So going to Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2 and following, Thus saith Yahweh, Learn not the ways of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Now, understanding that the solstice, which is the basis of this feast, is a sign in the heavens.
The winter solstice, at least in the northern hemisphere, and then, of course, being the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere, is not a sign in heaven. It's actually the tilt of the earth and the amount of sunlight reaching, especially the northern hemisphere, at the winter solstice is the least, so we have the longest night. Obviously, in the southern hemisphere, it's the complete opposite, because the earth is round, not flat. But in the southern hemisphere, we have the longest day at this time of year, around the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere. So it's not a sign in heaven, it's more because of a tilt in the axis of the earth as it rotates around the sun.
Okay. Then he goes on to say, speaking for Yahweh, for the customs of the people are vain. One cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold, and they fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are as upright as a palm tree. They speak not, they must be born. But they speak not, they must be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. Now,
the idea that at the time that this passage was transferred over into one of the various books of the Bible and then transliterated from all the various languages and going up to the King James Version of the Bible, I don't think they were referring to a fir tree, which is, to the best of my knowledge, not native to the Middle East. And it definitely doesn't have anything to do with a Christmas tree. I think this passage, as it's been transliterated and transcribed, probably lost a certain amount of meaning. And the traditional Christmas colors are red and green. Not everyone decorates their fir Christmas tree with silver and gold. And actually, if you read down in this particular passage of Jeremiah 10, it mentions silver and gold again. So I'm thinking that this probably has to do with some other thing that has been lost in translation, but it doesn't mean a Christmas tree, which wouldn't be in common knowledge until the early 1900s in America, which pretty much the Christmas tree tradition started.
it's pretty obvious to most people that we're discussing the idea here of a Christmas tree.
No, it's not common knowledge. You might believe that because you have your own agenda of, well, basically, fuck pagans. But no, most people would not assume that.
What today is called a Christmas tree, of course, it wasn't called that back in the days of Jeremiah, but that's basically what we're talking about. We're talking about setting up a tree, dedicating it with tinsel and gold and silver and all these things.
You just admitted that they did not have Christmas trees back during this time, and you are right. And again, not everybody decorates their Christmas tree with tinsel. I know a lot of people who have pets who don't decorate their tree with tinsel because sometimes the dogs or the cats get a hold of it and they eat the tinsel, and, well, then you have to clean up little sausages afterwards that are linked together by tinsel. But anyhow, not everybody dresses their trees up with tinsel or gold or silver. Again, a lot of people decorate their trees very different ways.
And we're told not to keep these ways, not to keep the ways of the heathen.
What are you looking at me for?
And this is the problem, is that many believers have taken upon themselves the way of the heathen.
Again, seriously, what?
And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I've discussed this in previous videos, but Christmas is, there's no Christ in Christmas.
Yes, there is. There's Christ. It's right there at the very beginning. Christ, miss. Christmas. It's right there. Christ, miss.
Okay. He was not born on December 25th. He was not born anywhere near December 25th. In fact, as we're going to discuss in a moment, December 21st is the birthday of Mithra, who is a pagan Roman god, and along with many other pagan type deities. And this is not of Yahweh. It does not please Yahushua.
So how do you know that? Are you now the official spokesperson of exactly what God believes?
That we do these things, that we keep these pagan holidays like Christmas and Easter and Valentine's Day and so on. These are artifacts of the Roman Church, which is Babylon.
No, the Roman Church is the Roman Church. Babylon is Babylon. They're two different things. They are not the same things. Babylon is Babylon. Roman Church is Roman Church.
They are not in the Bible except to be spoken against.
There's a lot of things it doesn't say in the Bible that probably a lot of people do. So are you trying to tell people that only if it's in the Bible should you do those things? So if people do stuff, does it say anything in the Bible about doing laundry, about cleaning clothes? Should people stop doing laundry because it's not in the Bible? Is this what you're actually telling people?
Nowhere does it say in the scripture that we are to remember the feast of Yahushua's birthday, which actually was almost certainly in the fall. Nowhere does it say we're supposed to have a holiday for Easter and Easter bunnies and eggs and have Easter egg hunts. Nowhere does it say any of that. Instead, it says in several places, learn not the ways of the heathen.
What? Seriously, what?
Okay, so if you're still mired in these things, if you're still stuck in these things, you need to realize there are consequences for them.
There's consequences? Consequences for what? What kind of consequences? It sounds kind of like a veiled threat. Exactly what are these consequences?
And they're spiritual. And although all of us, myself included, I was raised Catholic, even though I'm ethnically Jewish, I was raised in a Catholic background, and I loved Christmas. I have many wonderful.
You might be losing your
what do you call it?
I don't know. What do you call it?
What do you call it? Memories
Memory
of that holiday. But now looking back on it, I was a child then. Now I'm an adult. And we put away the things of the child. And we need to realize that this is not of Yahweh. This is not Him. And there are consequences for us. It opens doorways for us to keep pagan holidays. And by that I mean it opens up your home, your children, and even yourself to demonic attack.
What? So people who set up a Christmas tree and observe Christmas are opening themselves up to demonic attack. And this is the consequence of them setting up a Christmas tree and decorating it in silver and gold. And this is the punishment of God upon them, that they will be cursed with demons. Okay, Bill.
And curses and all sorts of things. And then people wonder, well, why do people get so sad during the holidays? Why does the suicide rate go up so high during the holidays?
Actually, Bill, this is a misnomer. The suicide rate does not go up in the Christmas season. That is just one of those stereotypes that is perpetuated. Here is an article about the suicide rate. The highest times of suicide is actually in the summer, springtime, not in the winter time. Although people do get depressed around the holidays because they feel like they have to be happy and everybody's celebrating, sometimes people don't. But it's a different time of melancholy. It's not suicidal thoughts. It's actually just a type of melancholy and slight depression. But no, the suicide rate is not higher around Christmas time.
And some of it is because people are lonely and they've lost family members, for many different kinds of reasons. But some of it is because there is this spirit of Christmas, which is, what I say in a moment, is actually the spirit of the Lord of Misrule.
Doesn't have anything to do with the Lord of Misrule, which is not a common feature nowadays at every pagan practices. So this is kind of a ancillary character, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the spirit of Christmas. Again, the suicide rate is not higher during Christmas time. Most people feel depressed and feel melancholy around the holidays because they're supposed to feel joyous and happy, and sometimes they don't. It doesn't have anything to do with the Lord of Misrule.
Now, does that sound real wholesome to you? No, not to me either.
How exactly is the Lord of Misrule, which is basically a title that is given to someone, how is the Lord of Misrule supposed to feel wholesome?
So, our advice to you in the strongest possible way is to escape from this holiday. Don't let your children take part in it. Don't let your extended family, because this can be a big fight. If the grandparents of your children, both sides of the family, who knows, think this is nuts, that you don't want to celebrate Christmas, it's like you spat on the American flag, or just driven a stake through the heart of your grandmother or something, that you don't want to celebrate Christmas, explain it to them. We have video teachings about this. It's a pagan holiday. Yahushua was not born, and if you want to celebrate Yahushua's birth, do it in the fall.
The Christmas celebration that we have, especially today in America, is a mutt. It's a conglomeration of all kinds of different practices, from Saturnalia to Yule to Christian times to other celebrations in other cultures. It's just kind of a mix of different celebrations. However, nobody has to practice that. If they don't want to, they don't have to practice it. Personally, for myself, being a pagan, I enjoy Christmas, even though Christmas is not a pagan holiday. You might believe it is, but the rest of the people in the entire world who have half a brain cell don't view it that way. There are different celebrations that people celebrate around this time. Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Yule, winter solstice, Christmas, whatever. If you don't want to celebrate it, then don't celebrate it. No one has to celebrate it. And if your friends or your family want to celebrate it, you can either ban them and say, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that, or you can actually participate in that as a social function, much as I do. When I join in celebrations with my family around Christmas time, it is me being with my family. It is not me celebrating Christmas. It is celebrating being with family and the traditions around Christmas. I don't mind taking on and wearing the hat of another culture or another religion for a day to be with my family. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Same thing with people who walk up to me on the street and wish me a Merry Christmas around this time. I usually just say thank you and wish them a Merry Christmas and then move on throughout my day, because it doesn't matter to me that much. It's not the end of the world if I celebrate Christmas or I don't celebrate Christmas. But I'm certainly not going to be an asshole and go around to people and tell them, I don't celebrate Christmas because it doesn't, and then just go into this whole tirade of why I don't celebrate Christmas, because at that point they're going to be so bored with me, they're not going to invite me to any parties, let alone a Christmas party, ever again.
And plus, it gets you away from all this craziness, this commercialism. People trampling each other on Black Friday, people just going crazy. It's almost like watching a strange demonic festival, and people are literally killed.
That has absolutely nothing to do with Saturnalia, with Christmas, with Yule, with winter solstice, or anything. That has to do with shops making a limited time so that people come and rush in and buy this product at a specific time and then rush out again.
Trying to get into stores on Black Friday, which is the official start of the Christmas season. This is not of Yahweh. This is of the world, and we are not to be a part of the world. We are to be set apart from the world.
But aren't you living in the world? Don't you interact with the world? Don't you work with other people in the world? Live with other people in the world? marry and have children with people of the world. Maybe you feel like you're high and mighty and set apart and well above that. But you still have to interact with all the lowly little humans running around celebrating Christmas. Don't you still want to interact? You're still a part of this world. Despite the narcissistic illusion that you think you are better than this world, you're still a part of this world, Bill.
So, that basically, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just remember what Jeremiah says here. Learn not the way of the heathen.
What?
Christmas is the way of the heathen.
What?
And even if it's been part of your life for decades, what do you love more? Christmas trees and tinsel, or Yahushua the Messiah?
Who do I love more? Christmas trees, tinsel, Yeshua. Christmas tree and tinsel, Yeshua. Christmas tree and tinsel, Yeshua. If only I could celebrate both.
Because frankly, it comes down to that. It's just as if you marry an individual, because remember, we are part of the bride of Moshiach, Messiah, if you are a believer. So you are married to him. We are collectively his bride. And imagine if you were to marry someone and say, oh, by the way, I'd like to keep the...
Okay, I'm not marrying Yeshua. If that's what you're into, Bill, I completely respect your life choice. If that's what you want to do, if you want to marry a 2,000-year-old zombie, that's fine. It's not for me. That's not what I'm into. But, Bill, I guess as long as you're not hurting anyone, you're not hurting yourself, I wish you both love, joy, and happiness. But I'm not into that, okay? So you can marry him. Go for it. I'm not marrying him.
The birthday of my former husband as your birthday. How would that be? I don't think anybody would like that. Well, that's what we're doing to Yahushua. We're saying, I want to keep the birthday of Baal or Nimrod or Mithra or whatever instead of your birthday. So I just ask you, who do you love more, Baal or Yahushua? You know, as the prophet Eliyahu said in 1 Kings 18, how long halt ye between two opinions? If Yahweh is, Elohim, serve him. If Baal is Elohim, serve him. Okay, I want to get into another component here of this, and that is people want to know how to pray against the coming darkness.
What coming darkness? You mean the dark night? People are going to pray against the dark night? When did people start praying against the dark night? Is that a thing? Do people have to do that now?
Because as I am filming this, it's like, I think the 19th today of December. We're in the darker time of the year. In a few days, it is going to be the solstice, the darkest time of the year. And I want you to understand something. In terms of Satanism, the period from the solstice until Christmas Day, December 24th, which is usually like about a 3-day period, is their time of greatest evil.
So between September 21st and leading up to Christmas is the darkest, evilest time for Satanists. Bill, I know you're full of shit. Most of my viewers know that you're full of shit. But what exactly makes you think this? Do you have any evidence for this? Do you have any proof for this? Or are you just spreading fear, lies, and misinformation to your audience, hoping that they all just swallow it up without questioning it whatsoever?
Even though everybody thinks of Halloween as being this really dark time for Satanists and other evildoers, and it is, hardcore Satanists understand that this is the most desperate time of the year for them, because they believe, I'm just saying they believe, I'm not saying this is true.
So you're not saying that's what you believe. You're saying that that is what they believe. No, Bill. That is what you believe. They're not concerned. They're not worried about the dark time. They're not worried about anything. And they're definitely not running around doing evil things and causing evil problems and plotting evil things. This is some twisted, weird, imaginary belief that you are trying to perpetuate. And to be quite honest, Bill, I don't think very many people are buying this anymore. You are the only one who is lying and perpetuating this bullshit.
But they believe that they have to shed a lot of innocent blood during this season to give power to the evil one.
Do I even have to respond to that? Okay, Bill. Okay, Bill. If you believe that Satanists are running around trying to get blood sacrifices, give us one incident, one verifiable article, one incident, just one, Bill. That's all I'm asking for. I'm just asking for one incident that you can prove was some kind of a satanic ritual around December 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, or 25th that you can verify this claim with. If you can't produce this, Bill, I suggest you shut the fuck up because you do not know what you are talking about. You are spreading lies, misinformation, and making baseless claims.
Who is known at this time as the Lord of Misrule.
Again, the Lord of Misrule is a title that is given to someone. There is no Lord of Misrule.
He has many names. He's known as Saturn. He's known as Hodur. He's known as a goddess figure, Demeter. I want to talk about that for a moment because there are goddesses too in the pagan pantheon. And Demeter is associated with this season because in Greek and Roman mythology, the idea is that her daughter, Persphone, is taken from her by Hades, who's the lord of the underworld, starting in this time. And it has to spend, this is some sort of nefarious pagan deal, Persphone, the daughter, has to spend 6 months in the underworld, in Hades. Hades, understand this, in Greek and Roman times, Hades was the name of the false El of the underworld. So it's kind of like a Satan figure. And he takes this goddess's daughter, because the Roman and Greek goddesses had sons and daughters, down into the underworld. And so she mourns for 6 months. Okay. And at the end of this period is then springtime, and then she gets her daughter back, and then everything blossoms again.
Yeah, Bill, but you have to understand that this is a story. This is a story of winter going into spring, and then into summer, and then into fall, and then into winter again. It is a story of the seasons.
But they believe that the reason for this blight, when everything gets cold and dark, and even in the Mediterranean, things get, they don't have like blizzards and anything, but they do have, the weather gets more unpleasant, let's just say. And so this is all part of this cycle of the seasons. And again, this idea that they need to do powerful magic to the Lord of Misrule, to Mithra, to Hodur, and to Demeter to bring back the power for another year.
What you think that pagans and Satanists are running around completely oblivious to the fact that the seasons come and the seasons go. We go through winter, we go through spring, we go through summer, then we go through fall and then winter again. It's a cycle. It doesn't matter if we honor the Lord of Misrule or we don't honor the Lord of Misrule. This season, unless something weird happens with the planet, is going to change. That's just the way it is. Unless something happens with the sun or something happens with the rotation of the earth, we are going to have one season change into the other season, because that is what has been going on since the dawn of time, and chances are it's going to continue to be that way for a very long time. They're not stupid, ignorant, superstitious Neanderthals running around going, "Oh, me must make sacrifice for sun come back." You were such a fucking idiot.
And so because of that, there is more emphasis, there's more, let's just say this, there's more pressure from Satan, from the evil one, to get more and more innocent children to be slain.
No, Bill, I don't know where you're getting this from. This is not what pagans believe. This is not what Wiccans believe. This is not what Satanists believe. This is some weird, twisted bullshit stuff that you're making up in your imagination. It has absolutely nothing to do with reality that we live in. Satan is part of your Bible. It has absolutely nothing to do with our beliefs.
During this period, from December 22nd or so, give or take a few hours, through to December 25th. So you need to pray for the protection of children like as more fiercely than ever before during this season. Because people say, oh, this is all just nonsense. This isn't really happening.
No, it's all nonsense, and it's not happening.
No, that's not true. It is really happening.
It's not happening.
And we have prayed with hundreds, if not thousands, of women and some men who are adult survivors of this kind of evil.
And there has not been one credible piece of evidence or any proof of any of this happening to anyone.
So yes, it is very real.
No, it's not. He's making all this bullshit up to cast shade and disparage pagans, Satanists, and witches.
You need to come against it in the strong name of Yahushua the Messiah. And I will just, suggest to you to pray for the safety of your children especially. Keep them close to you during these 3 or 4 days. Do not let them run around unsupervised by someone whom you really trust. I would also suggest that you pray against the Lord of Misrule and Saturn and Mithra especially, because these are the 3 titans, strong men of this season. And as some of you may know, Mithra is actually a counterfeit version of Yahushua, who was a rival to the young Messianic faith in the 1st century. Mithraism in parts of Rome was like a copycat religion to Christianity. It also had a slain and risen Elohim, and so on, along with many other pagan cultures.
Actually, no, Bill. You are, surprisingly enough, completely incorrect. Mithra was a Persian god that goes way back several hundred years before it became the Mithra of Mithraism in the Roman Church. And actually, Christianity was the rival of Mithraism, and they tried to stamp it out. And, for the most part, pretty much succeeded. So, Mithraism was not in competition with Christianity. Christianity, however, was in competition with Mithraism. And the worship of Mithra goes way back again to the Persian Empire, way before the cult of Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire.
So it was like a rival. And this was his time. This was his birthday. December 25th was his birthday. And nowadays it is believed by hardcore Satanists that you need to shed lots of innocent blood to make this birthday happen.
Who are these hardcore Satanists you're talking about? What do they believe? Why don't you show proof of this? You say these hardcore Satanists, but you don't give any proof of this, and we're just supposed to believe you. Give us some proof. If you are going to make such wild and hysterical claims, you need to give some kind of support. You need to give some kind of evidence for these hardcore Satanists going around doing these blood rituals around Christmas time.
So it's a terrible time of year. It is not a time of joy and happiness and tra-la-la-la-la. No, it isn't. It is a time of death. It's a time of torture. It's the darkest season of the year. And even though people are out there celebrating, this is not of Yahweh. It is not. We need to celebrate His set-apart feast, which are, we've done many teachings on those, and step away from these things of darkness completely and be separate. Like it says in 2 Corinthians 6, come out from among them and be ye separate, saith Yahweh, and touch not the unclean thing. The Christmas tree, all the trappings of Christmas are all unclean things. We've demonstrated that. Instead, spend the time with your family praying and fellowshipping together, and pray and fast against the Lord of Misrule, against Saturn, against Demeter, and against Mithra. And, it's very important, because the more people we can galvanize to pray, the more these things are going to be cast down and reduced to the weak and beggarly elements that they really are.
Anyhow, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, Yule, winter solstice, Hanukkah, whatever it is that you and your family choose to practice. Thank you so much, and blessed be. Ha 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 ha!